Hello and welcome to Tavern Chat, the daily cast. Sometimes live streams, but always something on a daily basis. I was hoping to test. Oh, I just felt something go by my leg. I thought it was a kitty. Um, I was hoping to test the iPad again today using an external microphone, but we got a rainy day today, so that's out the window. That's okay. I spoke the other day about how sometimes game masters, DMs, right, are entitled. And Derek called the show, left us a voicemail. And his voicemail, it's a good one, and I want to address it because he makes some valid points. Not going to say he doesn't. But I have some differing opinions, and we'll discuss it. So here's Derek.
Hey Eric, this is Derek Jones. Just listening to you talk about that kind of experience you had where a neighboring GM who didn't have any players was pissed off and thought it wasn't fair you let your wife play in your game when he didn't have players.
And again, like I said, I stand when I GM. And I do that because I expect to have walk up players. I mean, and I'll go into that a little bit later, but um, there is a certain expectation. It's not because I'm a great DM. I personally think I am a competent DM. It doesn't make me great. But when you are on that Bill Webb or Matt Finch level of GMing, right? 8 people limit on a sign up sheet, but Bill will take, 16, 20. I've seen Matt run with nearly 2 dozen. Now, why is that? I'll address that in a second.
That guy's an idiot. But I do see a problem with GMs adding players at game time at cons. The issues for the players who signed up for the game. If the game's advertised as having 4 or 6 or however many players, the players who sign up assume that they're going to get a certain amount of attention from the GM.
And I understand the point, and it's a very valid point. But part of the reality is that more players want to play with certain GMs, and I'm not saying, I don't want anybody taking this the wrong way, but generic DM running some, I don't know, D&D flavor rule set, people are going to sign up because, hey, I want to play 4E. God, I can't believe I just said that. Or I want to play Adventurer Conqueror King. But there are certain people, and I was surprised to find myself included in that, but there are certain DMs, GMs that folks want to game with. And my attitude is, and has pretty much always been, if I can physically squeeze you at the table, I will make you welcome. You paid your convention fee. You wanted to play in my game, whatever I'm running, and the 6 slots or 8 slots that was defaulted to were filled. And that's usually because there's a limited number of seats at the table, right? So, but if somebody catches me in the hallway and says, "Hey, 10 car, because this happened. Do you have any open spots? Because I have no open spots. However, if you can get a chair at that table, all the regulars are seated, you can certainly join in." So I limit it to the amount of chairs that can physically be seated at the table. In the case of, Bill Webb and Matt Finch, they're usually in rooms that have all these tables put together. They're expecting overflow. Sometimes, even when they allow a game, it's like, oh, you have 12 signups, you're going to get other people walking up. And now, again, you're doing that to accommodate the fans. You're doing it to accommodate people who've gone to a convention hoping to be able to say, hey, I played in Bill Webb's game. So that's why you're doing it. Now, I know my personal limit as a DM is about 11 or 12 players at a physical table. That's about all I can handle before people will lose the attention of the DM. People will fall in the cracks. I know my limit. VTT, my limit is actually lower. It's probably 6 to 8. Nate's pushing it. Because I'm not walking around the table. I'm not making eye contact. I'm not pointing at you. You have to do certain tricks to keep those people engaged. I'm not saying that everybody can do it. And I'm not saying that a new GM or DM should be looking to do it. I just, personally, for me, my feeling is I want to get as many people in the game that can fit at the table, they can play. Fine. Going back to our friend, as Rachel was discussing with me before I started this, she was actually afraid or nervous to walk past him because he was even giving off this angry energy, I guess. Would that be a good way to say it, Rach?
Not angry energy. It was
frustration.
He was definitely taking his space out of the room. It looked like he really worked hard on it. Like he had certain setups of, I guess, I don't know if it was a dungeon or some city, or I can't remember. It's a while ago now, but
right.
It looked like he worked really hard on it, and probably when nobody came, he was having a pretty big reaction. But it was sort of a small place.
It was a small con.
You would have like the DM stand. There was a counter behind you guys,
right?
And then you could kind of sit on the counter and have your feet on the table, and that's what this individual did. And I felt kind of weird, going back to the table that way, even though it would have been easier.
I remember.
And going around through the center of the room, because I was, for whatever reason, I didn't feel comfortable to say, "Oh, excuse me, sir," to him. So
you could read his frustrations, and I understand his frustrations. Again, at TotalCon, I had my last game session was 1 attendee from the sheet, my wife Rach and myself. Let me move it to the bar. It happens. And now, could they have decided to ditch it because it was late? It was a Saturday night. Sure. Could they have decided to ditch it because they found something better to play? Sure. That shit happens. But here's the thing. Nobody was signed up to his game that decided to play elsewhere. And I think that's the key to this, too. It's not like he had a full sheet of players.
It wasn't that anybody was jumping ship there.
Right. Nobody was jumping ship. Nobody was saying, no, I'd rather play in Tenkar's game. It was, I had 8 people sign up, and I allowed my wife to take my seat, by player 9, or else she would have sat by and just watched. And Rach also understands that when she is taking a seat like that as my wife, she's also kind of like the DM's assistant, and she's very good at enabling other players. I think.
Right, you want to help facilitate what the players are doing.
Right, I think we had Jeff Talanian's daughter in that game.
Helping people who might not know the game as much as I do, people that are learning how to work with the character or whatever.
Yeah.
Or create the character. I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah, no, you did fine, Rach. No, and that's true, and that's very valid. So, again, I understand the frustration of not having players show up to your game. I have been there. Okay, but to think it's a zero sum, it isn't. It's not like people are walking away from my game to go to somebody else's game. Well, maybe they are, but if that's the case, they are. So what? It is what it is. But in this case, people didn't sign up, and it was like, well, if you're not playing in a game, and it's full, you can't get to a full game. You got to come to my game is bullshit. Now, Rach paid the same fee that everybody else did to go to the convention. And if she wants to play in a game and they can accommodate her, and again, that's the deal. Can you accommodate them? Again, I know my limit was 10 to 12 people. I had 9. I was well within my comfort zone. Some people have a lower limit. Some people, it's 6. That's fine. They know where the limit is. Some people, like I said, is 14, 16, 2 dozen. You have to know where you max out as a DM when it comes to running a larger group, especially, and the difference between running in person or running it virtual. I can't do large groups virtually. I just know it.
And a certain amount of spotlight during the game based on how many people sign up. When the GM starts adding people at game time, that diminishes and it kind of cheats the players who signed up for the game.
And I will agree with you to some extent on this by saying if it's a more intricate, complicated rule system where everything is drawn out, you know what? You're probably right. I run Swords of Wizardry Light. Combats run fast. Okay, they run extremely fast, extremely light. Swords and Wizardry Light, and but I wouldn't do that with Rollmaster. Heck, with Rollmaster, I'd probably want to keep it to 4 to 5 players just to keep the momentum going. But again, it depends on your skills as a GM, your comfort zone, and your knowledge of the game system. If I was running, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1E, which I ran heavily back in the day, I haven't run in 30 years. I wouldn't run with more than 3 or 4 players at this point because I would want to get my feet beneath me. If I was doing 8 in a walk up, you'd probably never get anything done, and you'd all want to walk away. So
I think it's dicey when GMs start going over the number of advertised players, and they should give some thought to whether they're actually screwing the players that signed up for the game.
All right. So you're looking at it from the perspective of, again, the player that signed up for it. I'm looking at it from the perspective of I'm a GM, DM at a convention, and I'm either I could be there as a special guest, or I could be there because I'm working for Frog God Games, and I'm supposed to make, in my opinion, nobody told me this, but I'm supposed to be very welcoming to players at my table because you want them to have a good experience. And yes, if I was running a heavier system, I'd probably want less players at my table. If I was less confident in my ability to run with that many players, certainly. But whether I'm running with 8 or 10, even 12, it's going to run the same. For me, it breaks down after 12 or at 12 if I've been drinking. But you got that point. But it depends on the DM. This was a weird one because you could really feel the vibes coming off this. And even if, I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you the truth, even if Rach hadn't jumped in the game, I'm sure we would have heard that people should have been peeled off of other tables to give him a table of players. So, just something to think about.
Everybody wants to be friendly. They see a gamer says, "Hey, can I play your game?" That'd be great if you can accommodate it, but don't cheat the players that signed up for your game in advance.
Again, I don't think I've cheated them, and I've heard from players in my games where I've taken walk-ups, and again, my limit in actual happening was 10. Which meant I had 2 walk-ups. I think I could do 12. I think that that would be pushing my limit. But 10 is still a sweet spot for me. If I can do 8, I can do 10. And again, I don't feel like I'm cheating anybody. Nobody indicated that. Everybody pretty much had a good time, including myself. Again, if I'm not having a good time, it could be because I've stressed myself beyond my limits. But just, general thoughts on it. I appreciate the feedback. Folks, again, If you like what you're hearing, if you like the guests that we bring on for our live streams, I understand we have Alex Kammer on the list for this month. Yes, from Gamehole. So Alex should be coming on one Wednesday night for Talking Crypt with myself and Bad Mike. So we're getting guests like this because of listeners like you. Yeah, your support, your subscribing, your listening, your feedback, your voicemails, your emails really, really go a long way. Actually, I have an email or two I got to get to too, but that'll be another episode. Folks, as always, we're in the midst of the world of COVID. What does that mean? Well, it means use your common sense, right? Use your common sense. You can't help others if you yourself are ill. Be safe, be well, God bless for all those dice. Tap on wood. I'm trying a new vid camera as opposed to the built-in one on my computer. So I think it's a little bit brighter. We'll see. All right, folks. On that note, I'm out of here. I'll be back.